I started off in art school and realized after a year that I was more interested in like specific illustration or specific design projects. So I changed and went into design, and that was at UQAM in Montreal. And it had a really good program, and it was very holistic, and it, tapped into everything from typography to object, film, environments, etc. So that already kind of gave us a good background on how to be sort of breaking boundaries, if you wish, in design. And then from there, I started my own company as I was finishing school, selling t-shirts and doing flyers for raves and underground club events. And we were just happy to be printing, so I did this with a school friend, and we were just happy to be printing and bringing that out into the public. It was very exciting. And then from there, I was working at HMV, and they started hiring me to do their storefronts, and bought a computer. And then I realized that, with the same amount of time spending to do a storefront, I could do a lot more on a computer. And this is when Apple was just coming out with their Quadra computer, which is $12,000 back in the day. And from there, so I had my little company, and the digital age was kicking in. So we became really quickly a creative digital agency, doing animation, opening credits, even editing films on Premiere on our Macs, which sometimes has sound syncing issues. But that was kind of like how we made our way. It was like a lot of these big established companies were working on big machines, and we were these kids, but we're probably cheaper working on Macs, and that's how we kind of like got into the market. So I kind of always enjoyed the side hustle and enjoyed applying design to other things. So I did a few video clips, I did a photo exhibit. I actually made a book for Cirque as a personal thing, and that was quite an endearing project. But it was really this idea that if you did things outside your office, you would meet new people, learn new things, apply new skills, and that's kind of what I've been doing for, like, I always kind of feel if you stop learning, it becomes boring. So the best way to learn is to do things that you've never done before, and sometimes it's scary, and sometimes you get sweaty palms, but ultimately you come out of there, you grow, and you kind of feel that you're evolving as a creative. When I meet candidates, I'm always interested in the side projects, because the briefs are usually, to get above the brief, yes, we'll sort of judge that and appreciate, how you went beyond, or how you walked the sort of like the razor line between the brief and off brief. I think the personal projects show that passion that you would have. And so if you're a stand-up on the weekends, or if you're reading poetry, or if you're directing video clips, those are the things that are the most interesting, and it'll show who you really are as a person and what your passions are, and show that fire within. So I think, yeah, personal projects for me are the first things I will look at when I see a young creative come into our agency. My mother probably didn't need as much convincing, but my dad was a little more, doctor in the military. And, he probably would have wanted me to follow a certain path, but because his sisters were, my twin aunts, were two artists, and they're quite successful, I got the encouragement that probably some other kids don't get, or up-and-coming artists don't get that encouragement from their parents. And it's probably really important to feel that you can make a few moves without necessarily being a renegade and living on the streets. I think when you're a creative, you can really give it your all, and you can probably work 24 hours a day if you could, because there's no limit into how you can dive into what you're doing if you're passionate. At the same time, you owe it to yourself to take some time to let the ideas come to you. So it's a fine balance. My technique is to run or to walk or to spend a lot of time moving around. Everybody has a different kind of different way to balance things. I always had the sort of the reflex to go home to put my kids to bed and have dinner with them, and then I'd work after into the late nights. And some people are late night workers, some people are early morning risers. I was on the early or the late night worker. Adidas Originals started with, you know, us doing things a little different back in the day. So this is 2007, and we had an opportunity to pitch Adidas. I think it was like a retail brief for the US. And I managed to convince my strategy partner that we would pitch a hotel. And so when we pitched the hotel for this retail brief, everybody thought we were crazy, but it did get their attention, and it did go up upper management, and it did get us a meeting with the head CMO. And that led to winning the retail business for Originals, which led to coming at advertising really on a sort of like design experiential level. But they did give us the full business, the communication business for Originals. So we defined what the brand platform was, and it so happened that they were celebrating their 60-year anniversary. So we came up with this idea, and I think why this was probably my favorite piece, I guess in the moment in time, was that it was kind of seminal in the sense that we had just opened an office in Amsterdam with no clients, and we were kind of looking to expand globally. We had already Cirque du Soleil as a client. And we're doing things for MGM Grand in Las Vegas, but we didn't really have like a global exposure. So this was our first shot at it. And it was just amazing to see like the energy that we had. We had a lot of young students from around the world at that point, and we were all in one room, and it was just chaos. It was like, I think I remember spending about a month and a half just kind of like, you know, in this room with 20 art directors. I think there might have been one writer, and there was, you know, there was industrial designers. There was a full-time storyboard artist, just kind of like coming up with ideas, and we came up with the house party. And I think that when you look at it today, yes, it is aged well. It was shot in 16 mil, so everything looks kind of epic. But it was really the first kind of, I guess, video clip that was offered to the advertising world. And since then, they've been doing that for 10 years, and you would look at that and say, oh, you know, that's the same old. But it was actually one of the first to do that. So, and we got spoofed by The Simpsons, which, you know, for me, I was like, okay, I made it. All those people that were part of this process, you know, ended up at amazing places around the world. So, you know, it felt like, you know, it was a moment, a collegial moment in school when you kind of graduated, and I'm still in touch with a lot of those people that have, you know, become ECDs in Paris and London and LA, and it's great to see how people have evolved. Like, you know, I've made an effort to try to be as holistic and be that specialist of generalization. But it is also good to have a superpower, and so, you know, be it through your personal projects or, you know, really executing on a specific thing is important. So, you know, they call it the T-shaped skills, so very, you know, good at a lot of things, but also be able to sort of offer something unique. And so I would say work on that unique skill set so that people can kind of notice you for what you're good at. My superpower is, and I think it comes from having, you know, hustled my own, like T-shirts and flyers and starting my own company, is that I'm really good at, when I believe in something, I can be very convincing. And I think that can, you know, inspire teams to go the extra mile to get there. And I think it's also how, you know, when we present ideas to clients, they can see that it's coming from a sincere place. Well, I would encourage like students to learn a craft and be the best at it, and make sure that you love that craft before you become the best at it. But I would, you know, keep your eyes open, and if you're doing, you know, a 3-year study, make sure that you take classes that are outside of your comfort zone, just to see what's out there. Because I think, you know, this idea of having multiple careers in your life will become more and more relevant as we move on. me personally, I feel like in my 25-year experience, I've had 4 careers. If it was having my own little digital creative studio, becoming creative director digitally for Sid Lee, becoming an art director for a while, and then a creative director, and now this playing a global role as a creative director, has always been a bit of a learning process, and I think that's actually pleasant for the mind, is to always feel like you're learning something. So I would say, for anyone in the creative field, that there's so many opportunities that you should actually plan to change careers every 5 years. I think, if you're like wondering, if you're stressed out, should I be, specializing in this, I would encourage you to, if you have that sort of longing, go for it, because really, it'll serve you for the next discipline that you'll be learning, and there's a good chance you will be doing something different, because I think just in our industry, creativity can be applied in so many ways that you will be called to sort of like reinvent yourself and evolve through time.